Okay, and I'll just say before we begin formally that we're going to do a little bit with dancer's pose today. So you might like to have a strappish thing like a scarf or a towel or a belt or something like that to reach your foot, but it's not necessary to reach your foot, so don't worry about it. We're going to do a little bit of shoulder opening to be able to reach back with the arm. So if you have a towel, a big towel, or a small blanket, or a swimming pool noodle to lie back on, that might be handy, but again, not necessary. So if you don't have it, don't worry about it. What else? Oh, a little balance assist. So if you have either a chair or a wall nearby or a doorway that you can stand in, if you want to give your balance a little help when we get around to standing on one leg, that'll be good too. So, but don't panic, don't rush around too much because none of those things are absolutely necessary. So let's begin lying down. We'll take the common tactic of assembling a dancer's pose on the floor after a little warm up. So we'll might as well begin by lying down. And if you do have one of those things that you can make into a roll that's long enough to support your spine from the tailbone up to the top of the head, you could do that now. So I'm just going to take this blanket that I have and unfold it until I get something that's long enough to go from my tailbone to my head and make a roll out of it and put it in the middle of the mat lengthwise. And then you can either lay back over it or you can go to the side and then let yourself onto it. Just rearrange yourself so that you feel kind of symmetrical. I'm still on the screen. Yep, I am. And then you can either have your legs extended or you can have your knees bent and feet flat. Just do whichever feels better on your lower back. But in any case, let your arms come out to the side. You could just reach them out with the palms facing up out from the shoulder. You could bend at the elbows and have them in a cactus arm shape. But in any case, with the palms facing up and the back of your arms and the back of your hands on the floor. And the idea of being a little bit propped up, and again, this is not necessary if you don't have a roll handy, just lay yourself back onto the floor and stretch your arms out with the palms facing up. So the idea is to create some stretching across the top of the chest, letting all the things that tend to get hunched forward during the day stretch out a little bit. So let yourself rest here. Make yourself comfortable enough so that you can relax and rest. And begin by drawing your attention inward. So just check around, see what you're feeling here. Maybe you're feeling some stretch across the top of the chest. See if you can let your breath travel there. Imagine that it could go in and out of those stretching parts. And just help them to release tension and allow gravity to draw them a little further toward the floor. Let your eyes close or let your gaze be soft. Let your breath go easily in and out. If you do have your spine propped up, you might have an opportunity to feel the ribs expanding on either side of what's propping you. If you're lying directly on the floor, you'll feel your ribs pressing into the ground in the back of your body. If you have your legs outstretched, and especially if you're propped up a little bit, you might feel a bit of opening along the front of the hips, a little stretching of the big muscle that draws the thighs toward the torso, the hip flexor muscles. We need those to open up for dancer's pose because the raised leg is going behind the torso. Just let your breath slow down a little. You can slow it down by lengthening the exhale a bit. So count a couple of breaths. Just see how many counts your inhale occupies and how many counts the exhale occupies. And then just experiment for several breaths with adding just a couple of counts, one or two, to the end of the exhale, making it a little longer than it has been. Okay, so now we'll begin our warm up, just moving the large muscles a bit to get them a bit warmed up. So if you have your legs outstretched, move one leg at a time to bring your feet to the floor with the knees bent. Take a couple of kind of gentle sways side to side, especially if you're propped up on something, and just let yourself roll. Well, if you're already on your back, just stay there. But if you're propped up on something, just roll over a little bit so that you can extract whatever it was that you were propped up on and lie on your back on the floor. And we'll do this little moving with the breath warm up. So stretch the legs out long, stretch the arms up alongside your ears with the palms facing in. Lead out with the heels, reach out through the fingers. Just take a long body stretch here for a moment. And then on an exhale, draw your right knee in towards your chest. You can hold it on top of the knee with your right hand. And then on the next inhale, draw the knee out to the outside of your body. Then exhale, bring it across your body, switch hands, bring the right hand out to the right side. Keep the back of the right hip down for the moment. Take a breath in here, and the next exhale, let yourself roll a bit up onto the left hip so that your right knee comes closer to the floor. And then on the next exhale, roll yourself back to the center, loop the hands behind the thigh, and inhale the heel of that leg up to the ceiling. Exhale to fold it down again. Inhale, letting the foot drop to the floor, press the foot away on the floor, reach the arms overhead for another long body stretch. And on the exhale, bring the left knee into the chest, holding it with the left hand, stretching the right arm out, inhaling as you bring the left knee out to the left side, exhaling as you cross the body, switching hands, stretching the left arm out, just as far as it goes without lifting the hip. Take another inhale and then exhale. And now let the left hip rise so that you can roll onto the right hip. Leave the left shoulder down on the mat. And then use an exhale to come back to the center. Loop the hands behind the thigh. Inhale the foot up toward the ceiling, stretching through the heel. Exhaling that leg back down, inhaling to let the foot come to the floor and slide away on the floor as you reach the arms up overhead. And we'll just repeat that whole sequence a little more rhythmically, exhaling the right knee in, inhaling the right knee out, stretching the left arm, exhaling to bring the knee across the body just a little bit, inhaling and then exhaling to roll up onto the left hip. And then exhale, come into the center. Inhale the foot up toward the ceiling, stretching through the heel. Exhale to fold the leg back down and stretch between the two legs. Inhale the foot to the floor and the arms up overhead, stretching long. Exhale the left knee in, stretching the right arm out. Inhale the left knee out to the side. Exhale, cross the body, keeping the hip down, switching hands, stretching the left arm out. Inhale here, exhale to roll up. Knee comes a bit closer to the floor. Inhale, exhale back to the center, hands behind the thigh. Inhale the heel to the ceiling, up, stretching up. Exhales, fold the leg back down, stretching between the legs. Inhale the foot to the floor, slide it away, reach the arms up overhead, stretching long, and exhale the arms back down to the sides. Okay, so now we're going to assemble a little dancer's pose on the floor, doing it to each side. Now I got to be a little careful here because if I hit the side of my headphones, it turns them off. So, but you not having that worry can do this better. So we'll first roll on to the right side. You can just prop your arm with your head. I'm figuring out how to do this without shutting off my earphones. Oh dear. So make yourself into kind of a board on your side. So to begin with, you can just have the top hand sort of tented into the floor here, just for a little balance prop. Flex at the feet as if you were standing on your feet and stretch through your whole body. So line everything up, the heels, the hips, the shoulders, length through the back of the head. Don't hold your head off the floor like I'm doing. That's not very relaxing. So just let your arm be under your head to keep your head on straight, keep your head in line with the rest of your spine. And now we're just going to create some extension at the top hip by bringing the top leg behind your body. You might have to lean over a little bit to the front in order to keep yourself from flopping over. So feel some stretch out of this top hip, out of the front of the top hip as you move that leg behind your body. And then you can bring it back to lie on the top, the bottom leg again, rather. And now we'll stretch the top arm out and we're going to swing it back around. Thumb is facing up toward the ceiling, then the palm is facing up toward the ceiling, and then you're reaching back behind you with your thumb pointed, woo, I'm going to fall over, thumb pointed back behind you and your palm facing up toward the ceiling. And notice that that draws the shoulder back behind you. Yeah? And then we'll bring that arm back down. And now let's extend at the hip of the top leg, bringing the leg behind, and then flex at the knee. So the foot comes toward the bum, doesn't have to come very close to the bum at all. And in fact, we're making sort of a bow shape out of the leg and the torso. So the knee, the top knee's behind the bottom knee. And now let's do that reaching back with the top hand. I got to put this arm down, otherwise I'm going to fall over. And so roll your hands so that your thumb's facing behind you and the palm up toward the ceiling, and you can reach toward that foot behind you. If you happen to be able to grasp the foot, woo, you can grab it from the inside and make yourself into a bow shape here on the floor. So we've got, and flex the other foot, keep the other foot strong, the other leg strong. So we've got most of a dancer's pose here, and the only thing we're missing is to flex forward at the hip of the standing leg, which is the one that's down on the floor right now, but that's kind of hard to do right here. You have to kind of scooch along the floor, so we'll just leave it at that. So release the foot, let your arm come back to the front, make your head relax, stretch the body out. Roll over onto your back a moment. Set yourself up in a symmetrical position. Stretch the arms out to the side and take some easy knee sways. Inhaling to let the knees come down to the left. Exhaling to draw them back through the center. Inhaling to let them come to the right. Exhaling to drop back through the center, and then down the other way. Exhaling through the center once more to the right side and back to the center. And now we're going to do that on the other side. I'm going to swap end for end so that the front of my body stays facing toward you, I guess. Actually, maybe I won't, and then you'll see how it looks from the back. So now lie down on the other side. So you're going to lie down on your left side this time. This is the one I have to really be careful of, because if I hit the right earphone, it turns everything off. So line yourself up like you were a board. Give a little support with the front hand. And we'll begin again by just creating some extension with the top leg. So moving that thigh, the whole leg from the hip behind the other leg. Feeling the stretch out of the front of the top hip. And then we'll move it back again. And then we'll do the arms. So let your top arm come out to the front, sweep it around in a big arc. The thumb is going to wind up pointing behind you, the palm up toward the ceiling. Notice that that draws your top shoulder toward the back of your body. And then let it come back around to the front. And now we'll take the leg back. The top leg comes behind the bottom leg. It's coming behind the torso. And then we'll flex at the knee. Doesn't matter if your foot comes close to your bum or not. Also doesn't matter whether you're going to reach your foot or not. We'll sweep the arm around the way that we just did, trying not to fall over. Reach for the inside of the foot. And again, don't worry about it if you don't reach the foot. And don't try to make your foot come real close to your bum. So that this is not a big hinging of the knee. Instead, it's more like somebody is pulling a bow. So your hand meeting your foot is where the hand is on the bowstring. And then we could release and let the leg come long and bring the hand back around. And this time you could roll onto your belly and let your hands be a place to pillow your face. Bend at the knees, make your knees kind of far apart, and take a little loose swishing from side to side. And then bring the legs back behind you. Stretch the legs long for a moment. And now we're going to bring the legs up off the floor from the hip. So we're going to actively extend from the hip. So the leg comes behind the torso, and we'll exhale it back down. So that was my, well, let's make that the left leg. So the right leg now comes away from the floor. Sorry, I didn't tell you that in the first place. And then let it back down, and then we'll go back to the other side, extending and lowering, and extending and lowering. So same motion as with the dancer's pose. And then let's add the knee bend onto that. So going back to the left leg, we'll extend from the hip and then bend at the knee. And then we'll lengthen the leg back out again and let it back down. And then on the other side, on the right side, extend from the hip, leg comes, just can come a little bit off the floor. And then bend at the knee and extend at the knee, the leg comes long, and lower it back to the floor. And then we'll just take another little roll of the hips side to side with the lower legs up in the air. And now let's just move the spine around a little bit before we do some other things. So bring your hands alongside your ribs so that you'll be in a position to push yourself up away from the floor, and let your hips sink back over your heels. Take a big stretch into an extended child's pose, and let yourself come back forward. Give a little traction of the heels back toward the knees. opening the top of the chest along the breastbone, and exhale and rock back again into the extended child's pose. And then inhale to come forward again into the little bit of a cow back. And then bend at the elbows, keep the elbows close to the body, lower your chest back to the floor, scooch yourself along until you're lying on your belly again. So now we're going to add a little something on to that. So stretch your arms back alongside your torso. Bring your palms to the floor so your palms are facing down and your thumbs are facing away from your body. And notice that if you press into your hands, you can roll your shoulders up away from the floor. So it's kind of similar to the way we were raising the arm and rotating it while lying on the side. Okay, so now we're going to let's begin on the left side just for grins. So just rest your chin or your forehead so that you can have your head on straight. And we'll bring the left leg away from the floor and bend at the knee. Roll the shoulder on that same side away from the floor and reach the hand out with the palm facing out and the thumb facing up. If you get to your foot, that'll be fine. If you don't get to your foot, that'll be fine too. You can inhale and raise the upper part of your torso and your face away from the floor at the same time. So we're making kind of a half bow pose. But again, no worries if your hand and your foot do not come together. This will be great. And then exhale, let your body rest down, let your legs straighten out, let the arm come back to the floor, bring your hands under your head, bend at the knees, take a little roll from side to side. Then let your legs back down, and we'll do that on the other side. Maybe I should switch around so that I've got the side facing you that's doing something. So we'll let the palms face down, hands to the floor with the thumbs facing away from you, the legs stretched out behind. And first we'll just extend from the hip, lift that leg up off the floor. Then we'll bend at the knee. Remember, the foot doesn't need to come close to the bum. It's just making an arc out of the front of your body. We'll make the top of the body arc too by swiveling the hand to face away, thumb facing up. Inhale to raise the chest a bit from the floor. If your hand reaches your foot, that's fine. Reach it from the inside. If it doesn't reach your foot, that's fine too. It could just be like this, making an arc from your knee down to your hip, up through your shoulder. So we got a half bow pose on that side. And then release the foot. Let your body rest down to the floor. Pillow the head. Take a little swish here. Let's bring the hands alongside the body. Press up away again. This time come back to hands and knees. Relax the back a little bit by just taking a little roll of the hips around, letting them come out to one side and the head of the knees and to the other side and behind the knees. And then a couple times back around in the other direction. You can let your spine articulate a little bit at the same time, just a little bit relaxing. My glasses are trying to fall off. And then let yourself come forward into a half plank position and keeping the elbows close to the body, lower yourself back down onto the floor. And now feel free to either do both sides at once or just do a little bit on one side and a little bit on the other side. Or if you find this not to your liking, an alternative would be to set up the same way to begin and then just do a locust pose where you're drawing your shoulders, your torso away from the floor, upper torso, and your legs away from the floor. That'll be just a great opening of the front of the body too. If you'd like to have a boat pose on both sides, we will bring both legs away from the floor and bend both knees and roll the hands up and away. The shoulders come away from the floor. Reach back toward the feet. Reaching from the inside to the feet and pressing the feet into the hands so the feet are away from the bum. And if you find yourself in this position, either with your hands or by using a strap or a scarf or something to reach for your feet, you can breathe in and out and rock this little boat. It's actually not a boat, it's a bow pose, but it seems more like a boat. So if you breathe in and out, you'll sort of bob up and down on the waves a little bit. And gently release your feet back to the floor. Bring your hands under your face. Take a little swish from side to side. And then bring your legs down, bring your hands along your sides. Press yourself up away into whatever position you like. Could be hands and knees, could be a half plank, could be a full plank, whatever you like. And then tuck your toes and find yourself into a down dog. Press into your hands, especially the inside of your hands. Stretch your bum back away from your wrists and toward your feet. Maybe a big bend to the knees and straighten them. Maybe another big bend and straighten them. And then bend your knees, keep your spine long, walk your feet toward your hands. Stop walking them when your back begins to round and just let the hands slide up the legs into a L shape with the floor. Take a bend to the knees, slowly sweep the arms forward and bring the hands to the heart, and we'll stand in a standing mountain position. Okay. So we'll find the joints of the hips a little to the inside and a little down from the bony corners. If you wave your knees in and out, you'll feel the joint moving a little bit. So set yourself up with your long bones of your legs and the joints of your legs and the feet lined up with the hip joints. Let your eyes close for a moment, unless it makes you too dizzy to have your eyes closed. Turn your palms forward a moment. Same movement that we were making on the floor. Turn your palms forward, thumbs are facing out. Keep turning them. Reach your arms behind your body. Stretching across the top of the chest. Not really a back bend just yet, but just stretching across the top of the chest. And then let your arms relax by your sides. See how the time is doing. Okay, good. Okay, all right. So now let's do a little warrior series that will also open the hips a bit before we go to the standing version of dancer's pose. So let's bring the hands to the heart and we'll step back. Oh, I'm going to stand sideways to do this. Let's step back first with the right foot. Step straight back. We're going to land the toes. Let the heel turn in a little bit. So maybe you wind up about heel to heel. Just check that you haven't stepped across behind the other foot too far. So the back toes are pointing out to the side, maybe toward the front corner of the mat, but you experiment and adjust that so that it lets your weight go strongly down the back leg into the floor without too much stress or strain on the ankle or the D joint. The front knee is bent in the direction of the front toes. If you have a big distance front to back, you might have a big bend to the knee. If you have a small distance front to back, you might have a smaller bend to the knee. We're going to rotate the torso to face the shoulders square to the short end of the mat. And then we can bring the arms up into warrior arms. And now let's take a little back bend here, opening along the front of the spine. The hands start reaching back a little bit. You can look up as long as it's not too destabilizing. Keep breathing as you do that, and bring yourself back upright again. And now we'll hinge at the hips, letting the belly come toward the front thigh, reaching long with the arms. And inhale back upright again, and exhale the arms down to the heart. Now let your arms rest down. Just check that your torso is upright. And now we're going to reach up with the right hand. And notice as you reach up with the right hand and down with the left hand, you can exaggerate that opening at the front of the right hip a bit. If you reach across your body toward the left, maybe a little more stretch even. And then bring the arms up overhead. Exhale the hands to the heart and step back forward. And we'll do that on the other side. You don't have to turn around. I'm just turning around so that it'll be easier to see what's going on. So we'll stand in the standing mountain position. And then we're going to step the left leg back, straight back with the toes, and then let the heel turn in a bit. Let the front knee bend in the direction of the front toes. Again, you could have a lot of distance front to back and a big bend, or a little distance and a small bend. Rotate the shoulders square to the front of the mat. And we'll inhale the arms up overhead to warrior arms. And now if it's not destabilizing, you can look up as you create a small back bend in the upper part of your back, but you could just keep your head facing forward while your back reaches back if that works out better as far as balance goes. And we'll come back upright again, and then hinge at the hips to stretch from the back heel all the way up through your body, out through the fingers. And inhale back upright again, and bring the hands to the heart, and let the arms relax at your sides. And now we'll raise the left arm up. So we're stretching the left fingers up and the right fingers down, creating a little extra stretch out of the front of the left hip. I hope I said the left and right, right? And you could lift not only up, but a little bit over with that left hand for a little more stretch out of the front of that left hip. And then bring yourself back upright, arms stretching up, hands down to the heart, and step back forward. Okay, great. Okay, so now let's have a little experimental dancer's pose stuff here. So you might find that you want a little balance assistance. So different ways to do that. One is you could have yourself stepped up with the supporting leg side at the wall. I think that's going to work out best to have the supporting leg at the wall. Or if you have a chair handy, you could bring a chair to the side of your mat so that you can just put a hand on the edge of the chair. So if you feel like a little balance assist would be good, you could arrange that now. Okie doke. And remember, this is just an experiment. There's no test afterwards. There's no test in the middle of it. So you're just going to play around a little bit. So we'll start by standing in the standing mountain position. So think again about where the joints of the legs are, lining up the legs and the feet underneath the hip joints. Stretching tall. Shift your weight into whichever leg is close to your balance prop. In my case, I'm going to shift into my right leg, which is closer to the wall here. And the first thing I'm going to do is just extend from the opposite hip. So I'm just going to bring the other leg behind the standing leg. Yep, creating that opening at the front of the hip. And already I have a problem because I'm standing on too many mats. So I'm going to move off of that. And then I'm going to take the hand on that same side and sweep it out and around. So the palms facing out, the thumbs facing toward the back. It's opening the shoulder on the side with the leg that's now behind the standing leg. And you know what? This could be dancer's pose right here, right? Making a big arc out of the left side of your body, well, the left side of my body, whichever is your non-standing leg side, right? That could be great right there. Let that relax for a minute. Woo. We could add a few things to that. So we could bring the leg back, we could sweep the arm around, and we could put the weight into the standing leg, and we could bend at the knee of the unweighted leg, bringing the foot up away from the floor, still with the thigh behind the body. You could reach for your foot if you like, but you don't have to. You could reach for it with a loop of strap or a loop of scarf or towel instead of with your hand. And that would be a great dancer's pose right there. Whoops, I think I'll fall into the wall. If you want to raise your other hand up, that could be nice too. Notice that the knee is not terribly flexed here. The foot's kind of away from the body, pressing into the hand. I gotta come back down. Okay, take a little loose juggle up and down. And you could just keep doing any parts of that, including just this part right here. Or you could add a little bit on. So we could shift the weight back into the standing leg, bring the unweighted leg behind the body, rotate with the arm. And then we could flex at the knee, perhaps attach the arm and the leg, but you don't have to. You can just keep like this if you like. We could do the hinging at the hip of the standing leg, bringing the torso in front of the standing leg, continuing to press the foot into the hand for the raised leg, maybe reaching forward with the arm. Whoa. Just an experiment. And just experiment until you think, well, that's enough for that side. And when you're done the experiment there, let's come back, take a nice, easy, wide stance, and take a very gentle flopping and twisting. And now we'll make that experiment on the other side. So I'm just going to turn around so that I'll have my other leg close to the wall. I'm off my mat because I got so ambitious and put 3 mats down and they're too squishy for standing on. So I'm putting the weight into the foot that's closer to the wall. I'm gathering in the hip of that standing leg. Standing tall here in a standing mountain position. And now I'm going to move my unweighted leg behind. So I'm creating that extension at the hip. So already I have this nice curve from the back foot up through the hip, up to the shoulder. I'll make a little more curve by sweeping the arm on the same side of the body, out, away, palm facing away, thumb facing back. Draws the shoulder back. Keep breathing here. So this could be a dancer's pose. You can let the arm relax, leg come back under for a moment. Pause in the standing mountain position, just kind of take stock of things. And then we can shift the weight into the leg that's going to be the supporting leg. Bring the other leg behind. Bring the arm back out. Bringing the shoulder behind the body on that side with the extended leg. And we could flex at the foot. Maybe reach the foot with the hand or with something else. And again, the foot's not coming real close to the bum. Instead, the foot is pressing out into the hand, making this kind of bow shape from the knee up to the shoulder, and then the drawn bowstring is the lower leg and the arm. We could possibly reach up with the other hand. And we'll let that back down. Just take a little relaxing bobble for a moment. And then we'll shift the weight into the standing leg again. You know, you need to kind of gather the hip of that standing leg a little bit in toward the middle of your body to make a really strong column of support there. Other hip comes up a little bit when you do that. We'll bring the unweighted leg behind the body, sweep the arm around, thumbs sticking out toward the back, flex at the knee, maybe make connection here, maybe not. It really doesn't matter. You can just be like this. This is quite elegant. And if you like, you could hinge forward. Whoa, maybe not. Hinge forward. So now you're creating flexion at the other hip, bringing the torso and the thigh closer together for the dancer's pose on this side. Oh, it didn't last very long. So just experiment a little bit with whatever version you like. When you're done experimenting, let yourself down to a solid 2 feet on the ground. And we'll maybe just take a little loose bob up and down. And stand in a standing mountain. Some easy circles of the shoulders. And around the other way. And then we'll inhale the arms up overhead. Exhale, hinge forward. Let the hands slide down the legs. Keep the spine stretching long. Keep your head and neck in line with the spine. Inhale to come back up to the L shape. Really stretch the rib cage away from the hips. Exhale, let your hands slide down. This time, inhale up to a chair pose. So you're bent at the ankles, the knees, and the hips. The spine is long. Press through the feet. Inhale the arms up overhead. And exhale the arms to the sides. And now let's inhale the arms up overhead. Exhale the hands to the heart. Then inhale the arms out into cactus arms, drawing the elbows a little bit behind the body. Exhale to sit down into chair in that position. And let's check something here. Let your arms relax, and now do a little tucking of the tailbone under, letting the back round a little bit, and then tip the tailbone to the back, exaggerating the curve at the small of the back, and tip back and forth a little bit, and then settle down in a neutral position. So sometimes when people bend over into chair, they stick the bum out so far to the back that they wind up with a big and kind of stiff curve in the back. We want to keep the spine neutral in the chair. And press through the feet and stand back up and exhale the arms to the side. And now let's exhale to sit into chair. Take an inhale here. Exhale and let your belly lay down onto your thigh. Reach the arms behind. You can turn the hands so that the palms face out and the thumbs up, kind of like we were doing before, drawing the shoulders away. Inhale to come back up into chair. Take an exhale here and inhale to bring the arms up overhead and exhale the arms down to the sides. Great. So let's inhale the arms overhead. Exhale to hinge. Let your hands slide down your legs. Keep bending the knees until your hands come down to the mat. Walk your hands forward, walk your legs back till you come to a down dog. Take a few breaths here. And now we're going to shift forward into some sort of plank. So your sort of plank could involve coming to hands and knees. That'd be okay. Your sort of plank could be letting the knees come down, letting the weight roll forward so that you come to a half plank position. Or your sort of plank could be letting your weight rock forward and come to a full arm plank position. That'll be fine too. Regardless of what you got to, let's just take several breaths there. Before bringing yourself forward, lowering onto the mat, keep your elbows close to the body, down on your belly. And then we're going to do one more sort of back bendy thing on the belly. So let the arms slide forward so that your elbows are under your shoulders. You're pressing firmly into your shoulders, giving a little traction back toward the hips so that you're very broad across the top of the chest. And now bend the right knee and engage your glute muscles and see if the right knee could come up a little bit. That is very hard. And then relax that leg back down. Let your upper body release. Bring the lower legs up into the air. Take a little swish. Bring the legs back down. Bring yourself back to the Sphinx position with the elbows under the shoulders, both side to side and front to back, pressing firmly into the arms, stretching from the pubic bone where it's resting on the floor all the way up through the front of your body. And now bring your left knee in towards your chest, the other one in toward your body. And then press through the front of the hip, engage the glute muscle to see if you can lighten up on that knee. Probably it's not going very far at all. And then relax back down, relax the leg back down, lower your body onto the floor, and then roll over onto your back. Okay, so let your feet be flat, knees bent, find those hip joints again, and lined up the knees and the ankles and the middle of the feet with the hip joints. And let's stretch the arms out to the side. And first, let's just bring the knees up over the hips. The legs are up in the air. They could be a little above the knees, the lower legs, or they could be just out kind of as if they were resting on a chair. And let's take a little roll from side to side. So we'll inhale to let the legs come down and exhale to draw them through the center. Inhale to let them come to the other side. Exhale to draw them through the center, and repeat that just with your breath, inhaling to the side, exhaling to recruit the abdominal muscles to bring them through the center. Let the Shoulders stay down on the mat. Let the arms stay stretched out with the palms facing up. And then back to the center and let the feet come down to the floor. Make sure that you're lined up in a symmetrical position. So pick up the hips, stretch them away from your body, set them back down again. Let your arms rest out to the sides with the palms facing up. And we'll have a little bridging here. So on an inhale, press through the feet and raise the bum away from the floor. And exhale and lower it back down, all as one unit. And just a few easy ups, easy downs. And let yourself relax again. Take a few sways of the knees side to side. And we'll do one more thing that's kind of a dancer shape here. So shift your feet maybe a little bit closer to your bum. And we're going to inhale, press through the feet, especially the inside edge. Raise your bum away from the floor. Give a little extra pressure into the shoulders. Maybe scooch the shoulders toward each other under your body. Bring the glute muscles into action to raise your hips a little more so you're creating that extension through the hip, and maybe reach your hands toward your feet. And take a couple of breaths and unooch yourself so that you're in a position to lower your hips back down to the floor. Bring one knee at a time in toward their respective armpits so you have your thighs gathered toward your torso, the lower legs just relaxed along the upper legs, and your tailbone's down to the ground here. So rather than being kind of picked up away from the floor, just let your tailbone stay down on the ground and take a little side to side roll here. You can let your legs move in the hip sockets a little bit, letting your arms move your legs. Done a whole bunch of back extension here, so giving a little massage, using the floor as a little massage tool could be nice. And see if you like this, which is let your legs come over to your left side and then use your arms to move your legs in and out. So you've got your weight resting more onto the left side of your body, and especially onto your left hip, kind of around the back of your left hip. And this can make a nice massage to the muscles at the top of the pelvis there, the top of the rim of the pelvic girdle. And then come back to the center and let yourself roll onto your right side, and the same thing. Just use your arms to make your knees drift away from your body and then back toward your body, creating a little massage along that side of your hip. And then come back to the center. Give a bit of a squeeze of the knees in toward the chest. Maybe switch your hands so that you're holding behind the thigh. Let your legs stick up, your feet stick up toward the ceiling in a happy baby pose. You could just stay right like this with your hands behind the thighs, or if you like, you can reach up toward your shins or your ankles or your feet for a little more happy baby. You can again make a little roll from side to side. And if you want, you can kind of extend one leg, straightening the knee a little bit and folding it back, and then the other one. This makes me think of a spider walking on the ceiling for some reason. And then gather the knees back to the chest and let the feet come to the floor. And it is time for Shavasana. So whatever kind of posture you would like for Shavasana, if you've got a wall nearby, you could put your legs up the wall. You probably know the sort of trick for getting there is to hug right up to the wall with one hip and then swivel around so that your legs fly up and your back lies down on the floor, and that lets your bum come quite close to the wall. If your hamstrings are not so open, you could have your bum a little away from the wall and have a little bend to the knees so that your knees are kind of not trying to hang out toward the wall and overextend. Or you could just lie on your back on the floor in the classic corpse pose, either with your knees bent and your feet flat, or with your legs outstretched, just allowing the toes to flop out to the side. Regardless of what you've chosen, it's a great opportunity to open the shoulders again by laying your arms out to the side with the palms facing up. They could either just rest a little away from your body, or if it's comfortable, you could bend at the elbows and have your arms in more of a cactus arm pose, which creates a little bit more shoulder opening. But do something that lets you be very relaxed. So don't choose an extreme position here for Shavasana. So the idea is to make yourself comfortable so that you'll be able to be still. Your body is still. Can't really still the mind, but you can encourage it not to engage with thoughts or sensations that are coming from around you. Now, if you'd like to take more than a few minutes of Shavasana, you could exit the meeting and stay in Shavasana for as long as you like and not be disturbed by the rest of us stirring. Otherwise, we will have a few minutes of Shavasana before we close. Let your breathing become a little deeper. Maybe bring some movement to your face. You could let your jaw yawn open and then softly close a few times. You could bring a little wiggling to the fingers and the toes. Maybe a little motion into the ankles and the wrists. If you have your legs up the wall, let them slide down. If you have your legs outstretched, bend one knee at a time so that you either bring the knees in toward the chest or just have your feet flat with the legs bent. Just let yourself have a little side to side rolling or swishing. And then roll yourself to one side. Make a comfortable place for your head. Rest there for a few breaths with your eyes closed. When you're ready to come up, use your arms to push yourself up. Let your torso face a little bit down toward the floor so that you're not using your core muscles to sit yourself up here. And just take whatever you need for a short, comfortable seat. A tall, short sit. So sit a little forward on the sits bones. Some weight into your sits bones, some weight into the sides of your legs and your feet. Relaxed at the crease at the front of the hips. Shoulders hanging away from the ears, elbows under the shoulders. Back of the neck long. Plenty of room to breathe fully. We'll bring the hands together and the thumbs toward the breastbone. Thanks for coming together to share a practice today. We'll close with one Om after an inhale. Namaste.